My name is Lenneil Turner. Well, I was born in Trinidad, and when I was 6 years old, I moved to Brooklyn, New York. And then I moved to New Jersey, and that's where my family currently still resides. And I finally moved to Maryland when I was 25. I have two sons, twin sons. They're 2 years old, Justice and Jairus, and I absolutely love them and their daddy, Devin Turner. Love him too. And I'm just really happy about where I am in life right now. Well, my story began back when I first moved from Trinidad. I was about 6 years old, and then I moved to Brooklyn to live with my own mother, whom I love. And so that was where my story began, my story of abuse began. That's where I met my uncle, who was the husband of my mom's closest sister. You know, it would be things like my mom would bring me over to their house and he'd end up watching me, so my mom could go places and do different things, and you know, which is pretty normal. You drop your child off to an uncle, a trusted relative. But I remember that I would like go to sleep and wake up and be naked and be like, okay, well, what is going on right now? And I remember being little and really not understanding what was going on, but I was a really quiet and shy individual. And one time it happened at my house when I was living in Brooklyn, and he had come to do some work because that's what he did by trade, like worked on houses and stuff like that. He'd come to do some work in our home, and he was in my room, and then another incident happened, you know, touching. He'd want me to do inappropriate things to him. He'd ask to do inappropriate things to me. And he never threatened my life. And, you know, it just goes to show that often they just target the quiet girls that aren't going to say anything, because I don't ever remember him, you know, saying he'll kill me or anything like that. He just told me that this was between him and I, and that I'm not to tell anybody. I just listened to what he said, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to tell anybody. But what that was doing was, I mean, absolutely damaging who I was becoming. It was to the point where, as a young girl, my self-esteem was shot, my self-worth was shot. I remember my mom looking at my shoes one day and saying, you know what, Lynn, let's go get you a new pair of shoes. Like, you need some new shoes. And I remember thinking, like, am I really worth a new pair of shoes? You know, it was like that bad, and I was a child having these kind of thoughts. I remember I used to cry, and my mom would ask me, like, what's going on? What are you crying for? But I remember not saying anything to her, not telling her, but it was just slowly destroying me. It's the secret of it. So there's two things that's in play at that time. There's one, the act of sexual abuse that's happening to me, but then furthermore, it's the secret, the fact that there's this burdensome thing that I'm carrying that nobody knows, and I'm a little girl and I can't tell anybody. There was no one that I told, so I carried that secret for many years. I remember wanting to kill myself as a little girl. My mom had one time, she bought some ammonia, and she was like, you know, you and your brother need to be careful. Like, this is not something that you want to ingest. This is not something that you want to take. And I remember thinking, oh, okay, well, maybe this was brought here, so this will be my way out. When I was about 13 was where the abuse stopped. It was around 12, 13 years old. And I remember it stopped right when I got saved. I had a cross necklace that my mom bought me, and I had on the necklace. My abuser looked at the necklace and gave me this look, because he wasn't really looking at the necklace. He was more so looking at my chest area, and he gave me this look as I'm developing now, preteen years, and I made eye contact with him. And I know that strength came from God, but I made eye contact with him. And from that moment on, I was never abused again. I don't remember any abuse after that point, but I still kept the secret until I was about 16 years old, when I was talking with one of my cousins, who's 2 years older than me, and go figure, it turns out that she was being abused also throughout that whole time, and we had no idea. We decided to tell an aunt, and my cousin further went on to tell her mother, and her mother actually came to tell my parents. And I remember when she came to the house, it's like I knew what was about to go down. I'm like, okay, it's about to go down. I could tell. You know, fortunately for me, in my case, he was married into the family, and so as easy as he came in, he was gone. When that whole thing came about, my mom asked me if I wanted to testify, and to this day, that's one of the things I look back on, like, man, I really regret not doing it, because I remember her telling me, like, you're gonna have to tell them everything that he did to you. And I was still in a broken state, still kind of mending, and I'm like, I have to go back. You know, like when you try to cover something up for so long, and it's like, I'm gonna be sitting in court and they're gonna be asking me details about what he did to me, and I didn't feel like it was something that I can handle. But so I didn't testify, and that has come to become one of the things that I regret most in life, like not testifying and putting him behind bars. I would say to any young girl out there that's hearing this who may have been going through a similar situation, or if somebody even touched you inappropriately one time, I mean, if you've ever felt violated by somebody, I would encourage you to tell somebody. Things that are covered up can't heal. And I remember hearing that a long time ago. And so it's really important for it to be exposed in order for the healing process to begin. And so I would encourage you to tell somebody that you trust. Don't try to navigate through this by yourself. You didn't do anything wrong. When I was younger, I felt that it must have been something wrong with me because I was selected. I said I've had a lot of help and a lot of support from mentors and other people in my life, church leadership, that kind of thing, that has helped walk me through it. But then there's the other side of having a professional counselor who may have, you know, gone to school and have an understanding of how to help survivors of abuse. And so my cousin and I said that we'll go through this together. Even though my abuse occurred a long time ago, it's never too late to you know, seek additional help. So definitely tell somebody so you can begin the healing process.
Last night I heard the screaming, loud voices behind the wall. Another sleepless night for me. It won't do no good to call the police. Always come late if they come at all. Last night I heard the screaming, loud voices behind the wall.